Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description, to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 12, the season and possibly series, supposedly series, I've been saying it all season, but I guess I was wrong, season and possibly series finale of Apple TV's Ted Lasso, entitled So Long, Farewell. Fitting title, because like I said, this very much felt like a farewell, even though apparently this has never officially been confirmed as the final season. Clearly, I thought it was, since I've been treating it as such. But I said on the Facebook page, if you guys aren't liking, following, whatever the terminology is for the Facebook page, I implore you to do so. Really fun stuff over there. That's probably the best way to like have an interaction with me. Like, I can't really keep up with the comments sometimes, but like the comments that pop up on the Facebook, they're far more rare, and I'm over there always like kind of like live commenting on something I'm watching. So you can get me like most of the time I'm like high as shit watching something and commenting. Like, you can like get that commentary, you can join in, go back and see it. I implore you guys to join the Facebook page. Anyway, I said on the Facebook page that I felt they'd have to intentionally work and try to fuck this up, because they laid the groundwork for, I think, pretty effortlessly giving us a satisfactory finale. And, you know, I said this last week. I thought episode 11 was really strong. Started off rough, but finished really strong. And we know my thoughts on the season as a whole. But at the end of the day, after episode 11, I thought, okay, here's what they need to do to, I think, really nail the finale in episode 12. All of these are things that they have already kind of like laid the groundwork to do. They should all know that these are things that need to happen. They should all be in a space to where writing these conversations should happen naturally. Like, I felt like they set the stage for nailing the finale. And I was right. Like, only a few moments after I am presently, well, not presently, but when I wrote my notes, I was presently only moments away from finishing the episode, and I was pretty damn satisfied with what they gave us. Like I said, yeah, I still think the season is a disappointment as a whole. There's a lot of pretty colossal errors along the way, most of which happened on screen, which in and of itself was an error, having so much important shit happen off screen. But despite the path getting here, the finale, I think, hit all the necessary marks that it needed to hit, and it hit them really fucking well. So these last two episodes were pretty great. While I'm going to have to deal with the fact that this final season was overall a disappointment, I get to at least end my run with this show knowing that, like Ted, the show succeeded when it counted the most. So that was really fucking poetic, wasn't it? Let's talk about the end of this show, what worked, why, what didn't. This isn't even going to be kind of like my normal kind of like breakdown of like, here's what happened and what I liked and what I didn't like. You all saw the episode, you know what happened. I just kind of want to talk about moments. Like, I thought this was a great moment. I thought this was a moment that didn't quite work. I thought this was a great moment. And then we're going to hit off with a couple of rapid fire things at the end, close out with some thoughts, and that'll be the end of our Ted Lasso coverage. So first off, I love being faked out at the beginning. We The fans, I think, were collectively super trolled by the show at the beginning there with the idea that Ted and Rebecca had had sex. I was prepared to call bullshit on it if that was for real. And that would have been actually pretty unsatisfying for me. I'm sure it would have pleased many, but the fake out felt like acknowledgement of the internet chatter, and I thought that was kind of cool. But I didn't feel like they had really, like, to me that would have felt like a shock ending or something. Like there's nothing on the screen that really would put us there as the final place. So I wouldn't have liked it if they'd done it, but I liked the fact that they faked us out with it. That was pretty cool. And then Beard coming in with with that thong on, and then that shot of his the way he was sitting on the corner, with had his ass on the fucking counter and shit, and the maid comes in, that shot was perfect. I loved everything about that scene. And for a second I was like, well, what happened that night? I don't need to know what happened. I definitely don't need to know. I don't care. I didn't like Nate rejoining the team prior to the conversation with Ted. I'm not gonna hammer home my thoughts on Nate's arc any further. You guys know how I feel about Nate's arc, but seeing him back in the locker room before him and Ted had a chance to talk kind of made me feel like this was going to be another important thing that they were going to glaze over or have happen off screen, and I was prepared to be real fucking mad about that. Because I was of the opinion that the Nate-Ted conversation was the single most important thing that needed to happen, not just in the finale, just period. This is the single most important thing that this show needs to get right. So much so that it was a foregone conclusion for me entering the episode that this conversation was going to happen. For the whole season I've been waiting for this conversation, right? So it really upset me to see Nate there back with the team prior to that conversation because, like I said, it made me think that the conversation might not happen. But it did. The conversation, I'll wait and see if I have notes about the conversation. I can't recall if I actually have notes about the conversation. I don't know if I do. So if I do, I'll skip it. If I don't, then I'll take care of it now. But the Nate Ted conversation, it wasn't a lot. It wasn't some big long pouring out of feelings like I kind of expected it to be. But the outpouring of emotion from Nate and the vehement apologizing like that. I don't know what I expected, but that felt like more than enough in the moment. That was one of those things where I'm like, fuck it, this works. I didn't really have a big critique or analysis. I was just like, I got in the feels. I'm like, I missed season 1 Nate. I love that he's so fucking apologetic and he's so sad and he wants to apologize. This is enough. If it's enough for Ted, it's enough for me. So that's how I felt about that scene. I loved it. I'm glad it happened. And if I see it in my notes later, I'll just skip over that. So, the song and dance routine that the team did for Ted, I thought was corny at first. But by the end of it, I was smiling and thought it was kind of cute. So I'm like, it's all right. It's fine. Nice moment. Nice way for them to say bye. I like Danny closing it out at the end. So like I said, I thought it was kind of corny. I always think choreographed dance routines are corny because all I could think about is how that would never happen. The team didn't practice fucking this choreography for this. They just didn't. They don't have time to waste doing that fucking shit. How much time would that have taken to train for that? And they've only known since the last game that no, there's no way. But that throws me off. Anyway, one of the other things though that I didn't like, and I wouldn't even say that I disliked it necessarily. I just felt nothing for it, kind of like an emptiness. But the stuff with Roy and Jamie and Keeley collectively, the whole who's she gonna end up with? I feel like the show thought that we cared about Keeley ending up with one of them more than we did. And I obviously I'm speaking for myself, right? But I don't know. I haven't really seen. I feel like people don't care that much, and I felt like this episode spent too much time on it. Did you guys care about that? I'm watching the scene. For two guys who have matured, they both look really fucking stupid right now. And I'm saying the scene where they go to Keeley's house after the fight. For one, she's obviously not choosing either of them. And two, who gives a fuck? I just don't care about which one of these people Keeley ends up with. Maybe I would have if they had spent time on it during the season, but they didn't. Again, the whole Jack portion of it, throw it out, waste of time. So, I don't know. I wasn't bought in on who is Keeley going to end up with. They needed to do Keeley and Roy and Jamie season 2. It didn't work. It didn't matter to me at this point. And then, like I said, they both look silly at that time because I'm like, there's no way she's gonna sit there and be like, yeah, you have to choose between one of us. Like, there's no way any grown woman's gonna go for that. Also, when Jamie said that the video that she got in trouble for was for him, do you guys think he was telling the truth or was he just fucking with Roy? I think it was the latter, but I don't know. I have to think it was the latter, right? Because there's nothing on the screen to suggest that Jamie and Keeley were so back into each other again that she would do something like that for him. And then that happened when she was still seeing Jack. So I'm like, he's got to be fucking with Roy. But I also initially didn't like that scene for Roy either. Like, he clearly was asking Jamie to have beers so he could tell him to back off Keeley, which was not like, it came off initially like, oh, this is a nice little conversation. They talk about their friendship, and I'm like, oh, he really is genuinely wanting to spend quality time. And then he pivots to the Keeley shit, and it made him look childish. It made him look immature. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this scene for Roy. But then, good job on the show's part, it bookends well with the Diamond Dog scene later in the episode where his whole issue is, can a man change? And we've watched him change. Roy is indisputably changed. But that one spot for Keeley, that one blind spot that he has right there, he's choosing to focus on that. So that's why he feels like he hasn't changed. And he was acting like old Roy in that moment. So I like the fact that in the moment I thought, I don't like this scene for Roy. But then later I was like, well, Roy didn't like that scene for Roy either. So like, now I'm okay with it. The conversation between Rebecca and Ted, where she says either they both go or they both stay. Great scene. I don't have much to say on it, but I really liked how she said if she sold 49% of the team, Higgins told her she'd be able to make him one of the highest paid coaches in the league, and that he'd still be underpaid for everything he does for the team. I just thought that was a really nice line. So at this point in the episode, about probably 30 minutes in, and it's time for the game against West Ham. Now, I said online in the same Facebook group that I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I thought that Richmond would win, but they still wouldn't win the league because Man City would also win. That just felt like what the show would do, trying to make the point that it doesn't matter if they win the Premier League because they have each other or some shit. I don't fucking know, but I just didn't see why they couldn't have each other and also win the Premier League. Like, give us what we want. But before the game, though, they do give me one of the things that I wanted, which was the final Diamond Dogs meeting with Roy plus Nate, which was an unexpected surprise that I inexplicably hadn't considered. I should have considered that if I was going to get a final Diamond Dogs, that it would have Nate. And I would then also like to retract my criticism for the Diamond Dogs conversation that I thought was going to be the last one that was underwhelming. And I was like, oh, I hope that's not the last Diamond Dogs. And good. They gave me a Diamond Dogs. They gave me a Diamond Dogs that I think was worthy of being the final one. But as I said earlier, Roy asks if he can change. He says he's the same guy, which, like I said, obviously isn't true outside of his behavior with Keeley. Higgins gives the perfect answer, but I really like Nate's answer here, too. Nate says sometimes you can change for the worse, and then he looks at Ted, implying that Nate is referring to himself, like, I changed for the worst. Ted, you know this. Then he says, or sometimes they can change for the better, and he looks at Coach Beard, but that time it's implying that that's what Coach Beard did. He changed for the better after his whole situation with Ted, the story that we heard at the end of the last episode. So I thought that was a nice moment as well, kind of acknowledging, Nate acknowledging his own wrongdoing and how he changed for the worse, but then also kind of like, and here's the other hand, Beard, you were really shitty to your guy, but you changed for the better, now look at you. So really great moment I thought there. That was kind of, I think, underplayed a little bit, but it was nice. I'm now going to briefly interrupt this moment of happiness to talk about the thing that I hated about this episode. Hated. It's not that bad, y'all. Rupert's outfit. Like, did they think we didn't understand that he was evil by now? Like, despite his actions throughout the show's run, we still didn't get it. Despite his sexual reputation and the allegations that came up this season, we still didn't get it. Despite the fact everyone who works at West Ham wears black, we still didn't get it. They said, you know what? They still might not get that Rupert's a bad guy. Put this motherfucker in all black trench coat. And I'm just like, man, come on, dog. Like, this is the most heavy-handed shit in the history of cinema, dog. Like, man, the only way you would not know Rupert was evil is if you were blind, and even then you'd have all of his actions and words to go off of. need his fucking black trench coat. What the fuck? Anyway, Ted forgoes a speech, like a motivational speech, and they instead watch a highlight reel video that makes the team all weepy and whatnot before the match. I liked the highlight reel conceptually, and I liked watching it, but a lot of the stuff was stuff that we hadn't really seen. I wish it had been a highlight reel for the fans too, like stuff that we had seen from the season. Obviously, you would have to make it so that it's not stuff that it's unlikely or implausible that it would have been filmed. Like, stuff that, plausibly filmed, maybe game footage, maybe, you have something from the locker room. I don't know, but you could have done that. It just, I don't know. I like the scene. I just wish when it was clear that it was kind of like a highlight reel video package, I kind of settled in like, oh, let me relive some nice Ted Lasso moments, and it wasn't like that. They got to relive them. I didn't, but it was still a great scene. So the team goes down 2-0 in the first half. It's halftime. They're down 2-0. Ted then gives them a speech about how much he loves the team and being their coach. A farewell speech. Thanks them for everything. And I like that scene too because it was a heartwarming scene between Ted and his team, but it also felt a lot like Jason Sudeikis thanking and saying farewell to everybody on the show as well. Like he was saying goodbye to the cast, the production crew, the audience, like, thank you guys for everything, because I feel like Ted Lasso probably it took his career to the next level. He won a fucking Emmy. Like, it's that to me, I felt the thanks there. Like, even though that was a scene that was meant for the team, I felt Jason Sudeikis thanking a great many more people than the ones who were in that locker room set there. So the second half plays out in pretty much standard fare with your casual ups and downs. They hit a lot of balls off the post before Jamie scores to make it 2-1. It looks like Isaac kicks a penalty kick into the stands, but no, it turns out he actually kicked it through the net. So now the game's tied. Sam ends up scoring the winning goal with seconds left after Ted correctly assesses an offsides penalty, which was an awesome little moment leading into the great one of Sam's goal. I love that. I love the smile. Everybody, including all of us in the audience, go, what the fuck's he smiling about? And he goes, that was offsides. my jaw hit the table. Everybody's jaw hit the table. Beard pays. I'm like, oh, this is great. What a great moment. Sam's goal probably would have been hyper to me if I didn't already feel deep down in my soul that Man City was gonna win too, so they couldn't win the league. But it was still a great win, great game. Everything was great about the game stuff. My absolute favorite part of this is this whole game experience in the scene is the payoff of Colin's subplot with him getting to kiss his boyfriend at the end after he had said earlier in the season that he wanted to, I think he's kiss his fella after a win, like all the guys get to kiss their women. And I totally didn't see that coming. Like, maybe a lot of you did, and I should have seen it coming. And if you saw it coming, feel free to ridicule me. I don't know how I didn't put two and two together that would happen, but they got me, and I was pointing at the screen, kind of like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like, oh shit, Kyle's getting to kiss his fella, like he always wanted. Like, I don't know, I thought that was great. I loved it. We then time jump to Ted's exit, and I learned that I was right about Man City winning the game, but I appreciated how insignificant the show treated that result. Coming in, I said that I didn't see why we couldn't get them, they have each other and they win the Premier League. And I still feel that way, but I'm also satisfied with the show downplaying the relevance of winning to that degree. Speaking of which, the guy that we learned the information from was the same guy who took Ussies with Jamie in that barbershop that time. So Beard bails because he wants to be with Jane. He hops off the plane. He goes through this whole thing with his appendix. I like how Ted had to tell him it was on the other side. And I loved when he says he has a plan. He splashes the water in his face, and Ted goes, whatever's about to happen, that was a great start. I was like, yeah, that is a good. I was like, I feel the exact same way. I don't know what he's about to do, but I like the beginning of it. So we then hit a little montage. It lets us know how everyone's stories end. So let's go over that real quick, and then I'll close with my Ted Lasso coverage out with a few thoughts. So let's see. I'm going to hit these bullet points pretty quick. Rebecca leaves the airport after having a goodbye conversation with Ted, and she runs into a kid whose father is Boat guy. I don't know. I don't even know if he has a name in the internet on the internet, because like I told you guys, I don't read other people's fucking reviews until I get my until after I do my videos. After I hit stop on this, I'll go see what other people said about the episode. So I don't know what people call him, but he's boat guy to me. But he's not boat guy because he's airplane guy because he's a pilot. And then we later see both of them arriving at what looks to be like a nice little like picnic slash barbecue with the team. They arrive together with the little girl, so that I feel like that kind of fulfills Rebecca's little prophecy. So we can assume she's now about to in the future going to become like a stepmother to that child. So that's how she's going to end up becoming a mother. We see that Sam is presumably on the Nigerian team. I don't know if that means he left Richmond or something like that, and now he plays in Nigeria, or if it's another kind of like international break thing. I don't know. And they just they weren't able to be bribed out of inviting him again. We don't really get a time frame for this stuff. Jamie visits his dad at rehab. I like the idea of them forming a new relationship. We see them, getting along and being happy. Like it's like, and a lot of this stuff, it's like that's cheesy, but it's like I don't know. Like it feels like it's not cheesy when you understand everything that preceded it, like the what his dad used to be like, the relationship that they used to have, what Jamie used to be like, how Jamie has changed, how that's changed, how Jamie looks at his father, like all of that. So when you lead up to just them sharing a nice moment, it is kind of like, oh man, that's nice, because we know the complete and pure shit that father has put Jamie through, and what kind of person he made Jamie to, and how difficult it's been for Jamie to get out of that. So Trent's book, which Beard had all sorts of notes for, and Ted only suggested a title change. We learned it's called The Richmond Way. It was called The Lasso Way originally. Keeley has an idea for a women's team. Doc Sarah, she's the team's therapist again. We see that Roy is seeing her. Roy is the new manager also. He has Nate and Beard as assistants, and they put the Believe sign back up. Beard gets married while dressed like the ringleader of a circus. Ted arrives home and coaches Henry's soccer team, tells him to be a goldfish, and unsurprisingly, the season ends as it started, with the close-up of Ted's face, finally looking happy being home with his family and watching his son. And I'm going to close out with a couple of thoughts. I liked Roy's speaking of his verbalization of a whistle. Whistle, whistle. I thought that was great. Lots of fan service and Easter eggs in this episode, and I'm sure there's probably a bunch that even I still missed. But my favorite one was definitely, and you guys tell me what your favorite Easter eggs were in the comments. I look forward to reading them. But my favorite was Ted doing the dances from the SNL sketch at the end. I thought that, I loved that. I love that. I like the guys at the Crown and Anchor paying for Rebecca's drinks and all of them getting like the shares of the team and stuff. I thought that was a nice ending for them. They've been kind of felt like part of the team along, going along this ride. They had peak fandom experiences. The time when they got to go play out in the field, in the arena at night. I don't know. I kind of feel like I've almost kind of like lived vicariously through them. Like, oh, I love that they get to do that with their team. I wish I could do that with the Pistons. So, I don't like this phrase, but I love that for them. And then lastly, I really missed Nate's awkward banter with the coaches, and that's something again that I didn't know I needed, but I was glad that I got it. I missed it a lot. Like when he comes in and he's like, good luck for the last time, and then he's like, well, not like good luck, like this is the last time you're ever gonna have good luck. He's like, I don't want this to be a cautionary tale. I thought that was so funny. I love when he gets awkward and starts tripping over himself, and I really missed that. I loved how he hopped up on the filing cabinet or whatever when it was time for the Diamond Dogs. It was like, oh, I like getting a season 1 memory here in the finale, like feeling like that now we're kind of like come full circle, and it was nice. So like I said, I feel like this finale hit all of its marks. It was a great episode. I think even though the season overall I think is a disappointment and will probably be looked at as such historically, I think that the legacy of this show is almost entirely undamaged. This show came along at a time, I think, when it was needed. I think it scratched an itch that a lot of people had that they didn't know that they had. I didn't know I had it. I watched this and I was like, oh my God, I love this show so much. There was so much negativity going on in the world, and this show came along at a time when we really needed it, and it was so good. It was so positive. It was so funny, and it just made you feel good. And it turned into this whole huge thing. It was it was a big thing for Apple at the time. Sudeikis is now winning Emmys and shit, and it's become this whole thing. And I think, like, you know, however many years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, we'll still, historically speaking, we'll look back and be like, yeah, that time when Ted Lasso was a thing, that was a great time. And I don't think the disappointing nature of this third season changes that at all. I think the legacy is unharmed. I think this is a show that's going to go down in history as one of the greats, even despite the disappointing third season, just because of again, like, I feel like it really resonated with the country at a time when the country really needed it. So, shout out to this show. I'm sure I'll end up going through it again because, again, I have almost entirely pleasant memories. Let me know what your favorite Easter egg was and what you thought of the season and the episode in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.